Alright guys, welcome back to another tying video with Old Florida. My name is Mike P, and today we're going to be tying the Go to Joe. This is one of my favorite little bonefish patterns. First thing we're going to do is start with our hook in the vise, with our thread right behind the eye of the hook. Then we're going to come in here with our bead chain eyes, and we're going to put them right behind the eye of the hook. I actually don't tie a weed guard on this fly, so you can put the eyes really far next to the eye of the hook. I don't think this pattern is heavy enough to need a weed guard basically anywhere you're fishing. This is a shallow water bonefish pattern, but you could also tie lead eyes if you wanted to get a little bit deeper with this fly, or just a little bit bigger bead chains if you would like. Then we're going to take our thread, move it right about almost to the bend of the hook. Next step is we're going to take our calf tail, and we're going to cut a piece straight off the little tail. I'm going to just stack those fibers just a little bit. You can put these in a hair stacker, but I prefer to actually leave it a little messy. I think it just gives a little bit more bugginess to this fly, an already super buggy fly. We're going to tie that right down on the top of the shank of the hook. We're going to wrap halfway. I'm going to grab all of our fibers, and we're just going to trim them up like that. This way, when we wrap toward the eyes or the bead chains, we'll have a nice smooth ramp, as you can see right there. And then we're going to take our crystal flash. I'm just going to take one strand of crystal flash. I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to go ahead and double that over on my thread. I'm going to grab it in both hands, or sorry, in one hand, both fingers. I'm going to make a V shape so you have this. And then I'm going to split both of those on either side of the hook, and then I'm just going to continue tying in that calf tail nice and tight. Once we have that, I'm just going to go ahead and trim them. I actually do like to come in here and trim them different lengths. I know it's a minute little step, but I don't know, I like it. Alright, then we're going to take our cape, and as you can see, I picked two claws from around here at the base of it. These are going to be shorter and thinner, and we're going to use them as the claw. And then for the hackle, in the later step, I'm going to pick one from up here, just a longer one, a little bit bulkier, and that's going to be for the collar, and that's going to give more bugginess. So with those two claws, I'm going to grab 4, and we're going to do 2 on each side. I'm going to take 2 at first, and I'm just going to tie them on the side closest to me with 1 or 2 loose wraps. And I want these to be a little bit longer than that calf tail. That calf tail is probably going to be ½ an inch, and these crab claws are going to be a little bit longer than that. 2 or 3 loose wraps, and then 1 or 2 tight wraps. And then I'm not going to trim those yet. I'm going to come in here with my other side. I'm going to line those up. I'm going to capture it with 2 loose wraps. And then that third wrap I'll cinch down. And then I'll put a couple wraps in the back. And you can kind of just grab them and manipulate those hackles just to splay outwards. Then you could come in here all at once and trim these hackles out. Just leaves a smoother ramp all around instead of trimming them out one by one. Then you can just clean that up with a couple wraps. I'm going to go all the way back almost to the eye of the hook and then clean all of those wraps up. Then I'm going to come in here with my plastic 3mm eyes, and I'm going to tie them in right behind that stack of materials that we have, basically the tail of the fly. But in this case it's going to be the front of the fly. These are just another set of eyes to attract fish. Once I have that on, with a couple X wraps and parachute wraps, then I can come in here with my Astaz. I'm going to go ahead and tie that down right behind the eyes. So I peeled a little bit off on that Astaz just so I could tie it in. I'm going to capture that. If you actually spin your bobbin The thread wants to kick back, which is helpful. We'll be going over that in another video one day, just small little tying tips. So capture that right behind the 3mm eyes with a nice couple wraps. Then I'm going to come in here with the hackle, and I like to tie this in tip first, so I'm going to come in here, just pull a couple hackles back, and I'm going to tie that right on top of that estaz, making sure to capture it nice and evenly. I'm actually going to pull this little tag forward and just wrap that a little bit further up on the shank of the hook, just so I know it's secure. And then you can come in and trim that out. It's okay if this fly is messy. It honestly, the buggier the better on this pattern. Then I'm going to take my thread and move it all the way to the front of the hook. Take that estaz, do one wrap in front. Actually, in this case, I'm going to do 2 wraps just because I left a little too much room. I'm going to X-wrap the eyes 1 time each over that plastic eye with the estaz. And then I'm just going to keep doing fairly open wraps, not too tight together, all the way to I get the bead chain eyes, and then I'm going to capture that. Put 2 wraps underneath and 1 wrap right on top so I know it's not coming out anywhere. Then you go ahead and trim that estaz out. Now we have this hackle hanging off the front, and we're just going to go ahead and palmer that. I like to do 1 nice full wrap in the front, maybe 2 on the body, and then I like to do 1 or 2 full wraps at the very back of this fly. You should have enough with 1 hackle. Make sure you capture that good. It's a little bit tricky with all the hackle and the material, but once you get it, it comes out pretty good. Then we're going to pull everything forward after we captured that with 2 tight wraps. I'm going to put 2 tight wraps in front, and you could go ahead and trim this stem out. Important step of this fly is pulling all these hackles super tight forward and actually putting a few wraps really tight, kind of building a wedge right on those eyes and hackle. As you can see, what it did is really push all that hackle back and kind of makes it lay a little bit flatter. And then all we're going to do is come into the front of the eye of the hook, and we're just going to put a few whip finishes. Like I said, no weed guard on this fly. It has pretty light bead chain eyes anyway, so I really don't think you need a weed guard, especially if you're fishing this in like a foot or 2 of water. You're going to have to wait a second when you make a presentation to a bonefish anyway. But when they do see it, they usually pounce on it. And then I just come in here with a little comb, make sure I get all the little trapped hackle out. You can splay your tails just a little bit, or your crab claws in this case. And then that's going to be the fly. It's a super buggy pattern. It has a whole bunch of movement. It's just a great little bonefish pattern. As you can see, it has another set of eyes. The front of it, a little hot spot of orange, little crab claws, and a drop of flash. And that's going to be the done fly. That's my version of the Go to Joe. I'm actually not sure who invented this fly, but that's alright. Hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more fly tying videos like this. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thanks.